Welcome back to Beyond Borders Teaching. Now, in this episode, we're going to talk about that NC teacher pay. If you've been looking at the news, you know what's up, so stay tuned to hear more from an international teacher's perspective. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Beyond Borders Teaching. My name is Selena. Thank you all for joining me here today. I'm so sorry, I know I have been missing in action. However, a lot has been happening. Now in this episode today, we are going to talk about that NC teacher pay from the international teacher's perspective. So stay tuned to find out more and, I guess, learn my thoughts. So everyone, in this episode, we are not only going to talk about the NC teacher pay scale or teacher raise in general, but we're also going to talk about teacher appreciation. Teacher appreciation is more than just that week where, they give us jeans passes or snacks or whatever it is. Of course, we welcome those things, but a saying of mine is, please appreciate me with money. So now I know there has been this whole debate that has taken place for the past year with them trying to decide on a budget as to what to pay teachers. And I think of recent developments, they are coming to a decision on that of up to 8%. But it really is unfair that it had to come to protest actions and it had to take a whole year. Because it's May right now, we are almost at the end of a school year for them to decide on that budget. And what baffled me most of all, before every year, of course, they would have the budgets, and I would say roughly by October, they would have increased the salary, and you would have gotten a retroactive pay from August and September month. This was my very first year experiencing them not raising the salary. And then there are also discussions about not getting that retroactive pay. Now that really blew my mind, as well as it saddened me, because this is money you're looking forward to. Okay, it will be a big lump sum, and they are saying reasons like, it will cost them too much money because it will be a whole year of retroactive pay they will have to pay out to teachers. Now, although I know that's the reality, and education is not a money-making business. So I know that funds are allocated from taxes and within budgets and stuff in order to pay teachers. So I understand the challenge. However, I also look at the fact that they don't want to pay teachers. However, in my county currently, they are closing down schools. My school is one of the schools they are closing so that they can spend money to consolidate the schools and build new infrastructures and things like that. I understand that's important because, my building is not the best. It's not a new building. It's literally over 60 years old. However, it's funny that they can find money to build buildings than to spend that money and pay those teachers who work hard in those buildings, who are there, show up every day to educate and pour so much into these students and families, by extensions, lives. That's something that really surprises me. Now, it's one thing to not have salary negotiations be meaningful and you're a US citizen versus you're an international teacher who gave up your entire life to be here and you can't do anything else but teach under your sponsor. So it's not like you can pick up a second job to make ends meet. Some of those posters were really funny and entertaining. Check them out on social media if you haven't as yet. And really and truly, like the typical American may have to work 2 jobs, or do some kind of side job or tutor another side or something so that they can have sufficient funds for their needs. And it shouldn't have to be like that. But for international teachers especially, we don't have a choice. We can only teach under our sponsors. We are paid 10 months. So for that June and July, we are not paid for that time. And during that time, of course, if you can't do anything else, the money you're already getting for the 10 months, you have to try and set aside money from that, because during those 2 months, you are not given any money. They give us an end of year bonus in this county, at least the county I am currently. So that helps, but that really is just to take care of bills for June. Then July, you're kind of on your own. Now the program as well does give a $2,000 check that goes towards whatever you need it for those 2 months. But of course, time August roll around, you have to pay it back. As I talked about before, I would have mentioned this. At least you're not paying an interest. You're just paying back the $2,000 that you would have borrowed. But still, to kind of have to live like this, having to not have enough when their month comes and then now having to borrow to then pay back, and that cycle just kind of rinse and repeat every year. It shouldn't have to be like that. And for international teachers, like I said, we don't have a choice. We only can teach. So for that 2 months, if you are not chosen to teach for summer school, you kind of have to figure it out on your own, so as I talked about in my Money Matters, and that's why that was something I really felt called and compelled to do, to kind of help persons look at money differently or save in different ways, so that you don't feel stressed, during that summer break. You are able to meet your needs and hopefully some of your wants, to really enjoy your 2 months vacation off that you well deserve. If people who are born here are struggling with this salary, what about international teachers? Like I said before, I wanted to read some things off from data I gathered. The average North Carolina teacher salary is roughly 50 to 60K. Of course, it all depends on where you are in North Carolina. And this is for teachers with like their bachelor's degree. Of course, you get paid more if you have your master's in some counties. Some counties don't pay different for masters. So that's a reality. And another way to get paid higher is to have your National Board Certified Teaching Certificate as well. So that's another way that you can possibly get more money. Now, the average cost of living for a single adult may be $2,400. This is of course to take care of your needs, such as a roof over your head, your transport, your food, and a family of 4. So let's say you came here, you, your husband, your kids, or you and your 3 kids, or whoever you came with, for a family of 4, that's about $5,300 plus. Now, some persons, that's your whole salary there just to take care of your needs. So there really isn't too much after that you can save from, and that's a reality we face. Now, inflation is a thing that's happening. I mean, right now, gas prices has been going through the roof here in the US. Some days it's over $4 for gas, when maybe a couple months ago, gas was like $2 and change. Now it's $4 for gas, and of course, rent goes up every year here in the US. Car payments pretty much stay the same. Usually some of these insurances go up throughout the year. Some of them go down. For me, one of mine went down. So those are some realities we face, and our salary is not growing to meet it. And like I said, as an international teacher, it is hard because we can't do anything else. Sorry guys, the microphone really isn't working, but I really wanted to get across my message today. So for the end, I wanted to end with this key thought, that are the boards of educators, the board of directors within the education field, are they considering the international teachers? If the average American teacher needs to take second jobs, do tutoring on the side, or whatever it is, in order to provide for themselves, their needs, their families, or whatever, what do they think is happening with the international teacher body? Now, this program I came up with facilitates teachers to go to other states as well. North Carolina is 46th on the list for where teacher salary is concerned. So we are almost down to the very end. Now, that wasn't something I researched when coming to choose which state to live in. The 3 options given to me was Virginia, South Carolina, or North Carolina. But I think I was more looking at, attractions, things to do. I'm an outdoorsy nature type person, so North Carolina really appealed to me because it had those 3 regions, the coastal region, the Piedmont, and the mountain region. So because of that nature aspect, I was like, yeah, I think North Carolina will be the choice. However, if maybe I was to go back in time and to see what's going on with the teacher salary, I may have had a different thought. I know here in North Carolina, one of the reasons too why they are able to pay less, because with every state, they look at the cost of living in order to determine a reasonable salary that they can pay someone. So I know that's why the other states are also paid more. But still, I mean, I don't know for sure. I haven't lived there and gotten a salary in other states. But I don't know if it will work out. But I'm just saying, like, to be 46th on the list, to have gone through a whole school year without getting a raise of salary, and then for them to say they will not be given retroactive pay because the timeline passed, that to me is unheard of. Like, literally earlier this year, A friend of mine, we would have went to college together, and she would have sent me a message letting me know that she saw my name in the local papers in my home country for money the Ministry of Education had for me, and the deadline was, I think, the end of March or something like that, in order for me to let them know so that they can, get the money to me. So I was kind of concerned, how am I going to get it, this, that, and the other. But long story short, I was able to have someone on my behalf go for it. And this is the thing, I left my home country of Trinidad and Tobago since 2022. Now, I don't know what year exactly that retroactive pay, money was from. However, they still made sure to get that money to me, no matter 4 years has passed. Versus they haven't been able to raise the salary because of the budget for 1 year, and they are saying that they are not even going to give persons retroactive pay because it will be too much money or whatever the reason is. That to me is something I could have never anticipated would take place in a first world country. These are not things I expect from a first world country, to not pay people because they do not have enough money. It will be too much money to pay. Yet still, like I said, they are spending money on other things. They are spending money on literal things, on building new buildings, on doing this, on doing that. But they are not spending money on people, on living people's lives, people's happiness, people's, being stress-free. Like, they're not spending money on that. They are spending money on things, and that's something that really saddens me. And I can only hope that things continue to get better. Now, something that every year makes me wonder if this is a profession I want to retire in. As much as I love teaching, I love educating my students, not only academics, as I always say, I'm a holistic educator, but seeing them grow emotionally, socially, all the facets. I love my profession. I love teaching. It fills me with joy. I love all that I'm able to do and see the transition with my kids from where they started at the beginning of the year to the end of the year. Like, that really fills me with joy. That's my motivation. That's my intrinsic motivation, not the salary. My intrinsic motivation comes from my kids and seeing what I'm able to support them and get them to realize for themselves their capabilities, their strengths, all the things. However, other than that, every year teachers are asked to carry more, to do more, whether it be the academics, manage behaviors. There are different extreme behaviors. You're going to see it throughout your classes. Support mental health, communication with parents, prepare students for testing, buy classroom supplies, and work outside contract hours. Every year, more is being added to our plates, and yet still we are not being compensated for it. Now, like I would have said, my very first year was my hardest year. It was a year I really had to master time management, so I wasn't taking home work every day or staying back in school after 5 every day or working on our weekends. I still have some things to do after school, but now I'm able to better manage my time. But it shouldn't be like that. And like, for example, teacher assistants. Now, not all teachers get a teacher assistant. And even if you do get a teacher assistant, they are not with you for the whole day. So you still have a lot to do within your contracted hours and even beyond your contracted hours so that you could be prepared for your job. Now, as I say with any other job, usually you just go to work for whatever allotted time, you do whatever work there, and then you go home. Teaching is not that type of job. With teaching, you prepare before going to work, you prepare after work. You are always working on and off the clock. And to be not paid for it, to not be really truly appreciated for it, it really breaks my heart. And coming to the US was a reality for me that I needed to see, and I won't have known unless I came here. Because again, teaching in my country of Trinidad and Tobago, I guess I was doing exactly what a lot of US teachers was doing. Like, I had my teaching job and I had my cake business. So I was able to live comfortably because I had 2 incomes, from my cake business as well as my teaching. But of course, It was, like I said, burning the candle on both ends. It left me worn out. It left me extremely tired because, I'm teaching, putting in all my efforts there. But then I have to do my cake business on the side in order to have enough money to take care of my needs. I thought, coming to the US, it would be easier. And as I said, I am grateful for the opportunity. It hasn't been necessarily much easier, but it has been a blessing regardless. It shouldn't have to be like that. If you are asking us to do more, then show us some appreciation. In fact, don't even ask us to do more. Do more for us. Do more to empower us so we can empower students. Like with teaching, it's a butterfly effect. These kids who we are teaching now will become the adults who will one day take over the world, who will have great impact on the world. Like there's one of my kiddos. I always tell them, don't forget my name. When you have to collect that Grammy, that Emmys, that whatever awards, don't forget my name, because he's always super dramatic. He's a sweet child. And, those are the adults we're going to have. And where does it come from? Teachers, all these people on the board of directors who can't make up their mind with a decision. You all once had a great teacher to make you all where you are today. The president, everybody, every athlete, everyone who now, contributes to society in whichever way, whether it be the cashier at a grocery store, whoever, every job is important. Like I always teach my kids, everybody have to thank teachers for where they are at. And yet still we are, the ones who sometimes feel like not considered enough, especially when it comes to our salary. Salary is important to help with your living. Teacher keeps increasing, yet the compensation doesn't feel adequate for teachers to really want to continue in this profession. Like I said, international teachers, the role we play here is to fill in the gap. At the beginning of this school year, my county was short of 300 teachers. I would say for my whole school year, we didn't get a music teacher. We have had a substitute music teacher for the whole school year. And for a part of the school year, we have had a substitute media coordinator. There are so many American teachers who are leaving the profession or leaving to go to another state. And why isn't the district, the board members looking at these things? And I'm sure they are. It's like, what are y'all doing to stop that from happening? Of course, persons leave when they are unhappy. As much as in my classroom, I am happy with my kids. I'm happy, as I said, because I am intrinsically motivated to do well for them. But if I'm to think of the outside factors, not being paid enough, not having all my needs met, and I had another option, maybe I'd take it, right? Like a lot of American teachers are doing, leaving the profession altogether or migrating to a different state where they will be better compensated for their work. Have already done the work, and we continue to do the work. And that's why to me it feels like almost like they are taking advantage of person's kindness. Because like I said, teaching is probably one of the hardest jobs in the world. And the fact that we show up every day regardless, not being paid enough, sometimes not being able to meet our needs, literally just working sometimes to pay bills, but we keep showing up every day, not because we love money. Everybody loves money, loves what money can do for them, but we show up every day because we love the kids, because we get joy, we get happiness, we are pleased to see what we do with these kids, how we can impact and change their lives. Teaching is such an influential job that I don't take lightheartedly. When I work with a child, I definitely want to impact their life in some way. And like I said, I always focus on holistic development. And we do so much to then receive so little. And every year, and I realized coming here, it wasn't just in my own country, because every year in my country, I would be like, they're not paying us enough, and they would have our unions who would go represent us, and they would raise the salary. It might take a couple of years, but they would raise the salary eventually, and we would be given our retroactive pay for those couple of years. Whether it took 4 years, whether it took 2 years, they would pay us for those 2 or 4 years. They will give us that retroactive pay. Versus here in the US, it has been 1 year, and they are saying it will be too much money for teachers And in my country, when I would have left university, I would have taught for 4 years before they would have given me my correct salary, and I got that lump sum for that 4 years. But here, for just 1 year, they are saying it's going to cost them too much to pay teachers. Now, I know my country is very small, but still, it's the principle behind. And that's the thing with North Carolina, there are no unions, so that also helps. States that have strong unions are able to really push for teacher salary increases. So that's something I don't know much about, so I can't say why this particular state doesn't have a union, why isn't someone creating a union, what's going on, why is there no union? I don't know. Maybe someone, if you do know down below, you could share in the comments and shed some light as to what's going on, why is there no unions. That will help with those increase of salary. Teachers, we are infrastructure too. I mean, a lot of these counties, board members, they are spending money to build new buildings, give new furnishing. Yes, we need new buildings. Yes, we need safer schools. Millions of dollars are spent on construction, but you all are not spending the money on teachers. And like I said, why is this mentality about let's spend money on things and not on people? Shouldn't people matter more than things? It's important to have new infrastructure, new technology, new devices, safer schools. Yes, all of that. Not only buildings. Teachers, as I said, are infrastructure too. We make schools, right? So why is the focus only on spending money to build buildings, to fix buildings, to change out things, but you all are not thinking of the persons in those buildings? Now, as I said, for my school, it would have been one of the schools that has been closed down for this school year, and they are calculating millions of dollars to be spent within consolidation, within, all the things they are going to do. But my school, within this school year, they would have spent money to change the roof. Now you're going to tear down that school in which you all just spent money to fix a roof on. Now again, I don't know the figures, but they would have spent, let's say, thousands of dollars to fix a roof that you all are now going to tear down this building to build a new building. But you all don't want to spend that money to pay teachers, to give teachers retroactive pay. That's something I really don't understand how people think. But I guess, it really just reflects the world. People care more now about things than people. It's sad, but I do believe in being the change you want to see. And it really starts with us. So hopefully in hearing this help. I mean, retention crisis is a real thing happening. As I talked about before, teachers leaving the profession altogether, persons no longer wanting to be teachers in the first case because of all of this going on. Burnout, that's a real thing teachers go through every year, because like I talked about before, they keep adding more things for us to do, but they are not compensating for it. Staff shortages, like I talked about in my county, 300 teachers was needed at the beginning of this school year. My school didn't have a media teacher for part of the year because she retired and there was nobody else to fill the spot, or at least they didn't get a teacher to fill the spot. And for the entire school year, we had a substitute music teacher. Again, it's real, it's plain as day, it's things I'm witnessing in my very own school. And of course, students losing consistency. And that can go in many different ways. Now, my kids, for example, the devices they have, the laptops they have, can definitely do with an upgrade. Before, since I left my country in 2022 to become an international teacher, they still paid what was owed to me. And to me, that showed a true level of accountability, as well as respect, as well as appreciation. Because even though I left, I had to resign as a teacher, they still made sure that I got what was owed to me for the time I taught there. But here, teachers still did the work, and they saying that the timeline passed. I really don't understand. Somebody please help me. I want to end with this quote. When systems value teachers, they find a way to make a way for promises already made. Now again, at the beginning of this year, who knew they would not raise the salary? Like I said, this was my first year experiencing that. Usually by October, they would have raised the salary and you'll get that retroactive pay for the 2 months. I mean, why would you all wait for the timeline to pass? And now teachers have already done the work to the end of the school year to say, well, no, you all can't pay retroactive pay because it's been a whole year. That is, something there's not making sense. Teachers have already done the work. Teachers were expecting, like myself, that okay, well, if it's going to take this long, it's just going to be a bigger retroactive pay. To now being told at the end of the year that won't be the case, I mean, that to me is hard. Where's the appreciation? Where's the teacher appreciation in that? I wanted to end this episode on a lighter note. This episode has felt kind of heavy for me, and I guess I haven't been taking it on. I try to always be optimistic and happy and bubbly no matter the circumstance. But talking about this now just really makes me reflect. And I want to end on a happier note. But as I said, this platform is for us to build that teaching community. So for you to know that you are not in it alone. I'm there with you and sending virtual hugs. And we're going to get through this together. And for future international teachers as well, and current international teachers, I just wanted to inform you all of different ways in which you can increase that teacher salary. So it have the national board certification, as some of you all would already know, and especially for the future international teachers who are not here as yet, you can sign up for that national board certification through the county in which you are employed. Some county help with giving you money to do the course. For some, you pay it on your own. I don't think it's a huge fee. And after you are certified, your salary can go up by roughly $500 to $1,000 per month. So it really, really helps with regards to getting a higher pay. Your master degrees, like I said, some counties pay more for your masters, some don't. So be sure to check that out. ESL certification. That's for persons with English as a second language. That's something as well. Exceptional children certification. So for the EC kids. Instructional coach. That's a pathway as well. For persons especially who want to come out of the classroom but still want to be the teacher's helper. An instructional coach is also an option to increase that salary scale. And an administrative pathway. Of course, you can become a principal, assistant principal. All of those are ways to increase your salary. Now, all of them don't apply to international teachers, unfortunately. However, some of them have to always upskill in order to survive financially. However, I just wanted to give you all some options that may create that movement for your salary if it's something you really desire and need. And of course, it will be good as well for your professional development. I plan on taking that national board certification in the near future so that of course it can increase my salary, as well of course it can increase my skills within the classroom. So yes, it's something you can consider as well. I want to end this video by showing my appreciation to every teacher. I appreciate you. I see you. I know what you're doing. I know what's happening in those classrooms, especially those coming far from home. Thank you all so much for showing up for your students anyway, for giving them your best, for giving them love, support, for showing them they have a champion in the classroom, for believing in them, for not giving up on them and not allowing them to give up on themselves. I appreciate, even though I know the system makes it difficult, and sometimes the students, I appreciate that you never give up on the kids, that you continue to show up prepared, ready, giving your all into every child you meet, into being a good colleague. I mean, we also sometimes take that for granted, like having a good colleague also helps with the smooth transition of your school year. Thank you all for everything you continue to do and you have done this school year. Thank you all again for tuning in this week, and I do hope to talk with you all next week where I share what my first year in first grade has looked like.